welcome to the show. Thanks for tuning in. Great to be with you. We're at the end of the week, but I always say we're not at the end of our rope. Not quite yet. It's all good. Really happy to be here sharing these moments. We're here every day, a couple of hours. We do this, and we cover the gambit. That's for sure. Yesterday was interesting. Dr. Tom Sullivan was on, chiropractor. Haven't had a chiropractor on the show, can't remember when, and he's very good. I like him a lot. There's no pretense. And I did spend time, before bringing him on air, I did spend about an hour and a half with him or so, somewhere around in there. We sat and just talked and discovered that he's a good guy and knows what he's doing. I'm very careful about who gets on this air and what they're going to say. And if you listen to the show yesterday, I did a little rant about alternative, complementary, integrative, and traditional medicine. Now, some of my friends and colleagues are in this business, and they're radio hosts, and they do different kinds of shows. They do a different show than I do. And some of them are very political, and some of them are rather ideological, and they wouldn't even bring on an allopathically trained physician, a traditional physician. I used to bring Dr. McElwain on all the time, but scheduling issues have prevented me from getting him onto the show. I saw him a few weeks ago. They won't even bring on a regular, quote unquote, a regular doctor. That's how ideological they are. I don't do that show. You know that. I'm open-minded. I embrace ideas, and I look for the data, and that's going to become relevant here in today's story that I want to share with you that's trending. And so Dr. Sullivan was on yesterday, and he did a good job. We're going to have him back. I believe in chiropractic. I think it's a legitimate therapy. Many physicians now will refer their patients to a chiropractor. Now, it has had a long history, and it's mixed. Let me be candid. That's why yesterday I wanted to make it clear, in bringing on Dr. Sullivan, where I stood about all of this business. And I'm into alternative, complementary, integrative, and traditional models, therapies, paradigms, whatever you want to call it. I'll look at it all. I worry, we don't want to be ignorant, do we? We want to be open-minded and take a look and see. So that's what we try to do around here, and it's more fun that way too. You don't have to, you don't sound like you're always defending something. That does not mean to say that I don't have opinions or points of view. You know that I do. And I'll express them, and I'll tell you when it's an opinion, and I'm not sharing. There's a difference between being a journalist and reporting, and then being a commentator, and then being a nutritionist. And I play those three different roles on this show, and a researcher. So it's very different, and I'll let you know where I'm at when I'm talking with you, so you understand. And, if I'm expressing an opinion, he's caught on. I'll say, in my opinion. You'll hear me say that, in my opinion. That means I probably don't have a great deal of data. I'm expressing an opinion, which is a verbal expression of an attitude.
But you're not shy about it.
No, I'm not shy.
And I think that's puts our show apart from other shows, because you're not shy about showing your opinion. And I listen to the other shows. Do you? And you do too. We've sat in your car and we've listened to the other shows.
Lately, truth be told, I haven't had a chance over the past year and a half or so. When I got sick, I didn't have much time. So you're listening more to those shows now than I am, but I have over the years. Yeah.
Yeah, and
some of it's crazy.
Yes.
And I wouldn't even go on some of those shows as a guest because I worry about my brand.
Okay. And your image and everything else.
Did you tell the audience about the interview I did? When did you share that?
We did, and I actually posted it. And it's.
Why don't you find that for a second, and then
okay.
We're going to Dominique Clark, I keep calling her Clark, Dominique Ostrander will be on today, and there's a story I want to share with you about data, clinical trials, and can we trust them? This is very important. It sounds tedious and it may be tempting to change the dial, but don't. Let's go to St. Petersburg, Florida. Fran, welcome to the show. It's great to have you on. Hi, Fran.
Hi.
How are you today?
How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. You had a
this is Joe's wife.
Oh, yeah. He keeps. What's he do, man? He keeps you at home. He never brings you around. What's up with that boy?
Oh, please. He's got so much energy. He drives me crazy.
He drives you crazy. How are you? How are you?
Okay. Well, I was calling you to let you know I'm really, appreciative of the chiropractor. I've been going to one now for the last maybe 6 months to help me. I have spinal stenosis.
Oh, you do?
I've been going, and I've had shots on top of shots, and I also have my knees. I need replacements, but I have no intention of doing any surgery anytime soon if I can help it.
Well, in terms of knee surgery and knee replacements, of course, having a surgeon, a good surgeon, is great. My mom had one at late. She was in her 80s, and it was a full knee replacement, complete, and it changed the quality of her life. And she had a great surgeon. They did it robotically, by the way. They did, and she had a surgeon who's done thousands of these. Did it at Tampa General. It did change the quality of her life. It improved 100%. And she was able to move around and do things. It was like better than her knee was originally. So if you're worried about it, just do your research and find a good surgeon. And you know. Well,
I had stem cells.
Did that help?
Well, I only did it about months ago. So they told me it's going to be at least 6 months before I see any.
Well, you let me know.
People see it right away.
Well, you let me know about that because I hear mixed reviews about stem cells and being injected into the knee and this and that. I'd be curious to see how that turns out for you. How often do you go to the chiropractor?
Well, I was going 3 times a week. Now
maintenance.
I'll go 2 times a week, and he has helped me with my back. It's funny because I went to for the stem cell on my back. When the doctor seen me and seen my MRIs and things, he goes, "I suggest you take your knees first."
I agree with him.
And he goes, and what he told me to do is go see a chiropractor. They really, if you go to a good one, they will help you, and he has, because I wasn't able to walk very long or stand on line, like when you go to a store and you stand in line to pay.
Yeah, you can't do it.
After 5 minutes, I'll be in severe pain, So now I'm doing a lot better with that. We actually went to Disney about a month ago.
And you were able to walk around?
I was able to walk.
Oh, that's great.
Not the whole day, but a nice amount of time.
So the reason why the doctor told you to get your knee taken care of, because it's affecting your back, what's happening is you're compensating. Your knee is probably so degenerated and it's hard to walk and it's painful, and you compensate and you put your spine out of alignment. Everything gets out of alignment. That's why he was suggesting that. Makes good sense. Well, I'm glad that you got some relief from the chiropractic therapy. Keep me informed about those stem cells. How did you do with that weight loss program?
Yeah, well, I didn't lose as much as my husband, of course. I lost about 25 pounds.
Don't hang up. I want to ask you about that for a second. Don't hang up.
At Country Life Vitamins.
I'm Joy McCarthy, holistic nutritionist, and I expect more from my multivitamin. I've researched many vitamins, and what's truly different about Every Woman's One Daily from New Chapter is that it's fermented with probiotics and whole foods and gentle even on an empty stomach. Every Woman's One Daily helps you feel good every day, giving you immune, energy, and stress support, and nutrients for bone and heart health. You will notice a difference. Every Woman's One Daily recently won the Best Multivitamin Award, and I love that it's non-GMO project verified. Discover the wisdom of nature with New Chapter.
Whether you spend your free time on a treadmill, under a car, or in your garden, if your active lifestyle leaves you sore, Body Figure's Inflammaforce may be exactly what you need. Inflammaforce has a natural herb blend that acts as an anti-inflammatory to help maintain healthy joint and mobility support. There are standardized herbs like white willow, boswellia, turmeric, ginger, and devil's claw. The vegetarian capsule promotes easy digestion and a fast-acting dissolve process. Inflammaforce includes a proprietary enzyme herbal blend full of antioxidants and flavonoids that target pain and inflammation throughout the body. Body Vigor's Inflammaforce contains ingredients that support normal, healthy joint flexibility and function, builds healthy tissue, and helps with your recovery process. So if you're tired of sore joints and inflamed muscles, Body Vigor's Inflammaforce is your answer. Purchase Inflammaforce.
Welcome back. Welcome to Let's Talk Nutrition, wherever and however you may be listening or watching the show, and whatever you may be doing. Talking with a listener in St. Petersburg, Florida. Her name is Fran. I know her husband pretty well. Joey, he's been ardent, and so has she, been ardent listeners of this show for many years. And they both went on a diet. I won't mention the diet. It's a local physician who's pretty well known, and apparently he's had some success. Her husband lost a considerable amount of weight, almost 50 pounds, and her name is Fran. Fran, you lost 25 pounds. What did you think about that weight loss program? Has it worked for you or not?
Well, it worked better for my husband, but I mean, even 25 pounds is good. And I want to let you know, I worked harder at it than he did.
Really? Are you?
But yeah.
What are you doing now? I know the program ended. Has it changed your relationship with food? Are you eating differently now, or what?
Well, we try to eat, like a balanced diet, and I tell you what, I never had a problem with weight until
your knee.
When I got to a certain age, and you put on 5 pounds, it goes up 5, down 5, and then it stays.
Yeah.
And you go up, down, and it stays, and the last couple of years I was taking care of my mom, and so I really didn't have time for myself.
For yourself. And, may I don't mean to be
I lost my mom last year.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Well, I know how old Joseph is. May I ask how old you are? I'm just curious.
Believe it or not, I'm going to be 73 this month.
Wow, and your mom just passed away.
Yeah.
73. So you were born in 1944.
No, 45.
45. Okay. So, okay. All right. Yep. And, well, you're doing pretty good. I would say this to you with that weight loss program. I told Joe to be very careful when you lose that much weight that quickly. It's biology. The tendency will be for your body to want to go back to the original weight. It's called the set point. And the more often than not, that's what happens with people. So you have to, it's not just losing the weight, it's changing that relationship with food and eating in a way that doesn't take you back to where you were, because that's what the body wants to do biologically. It wants to go back to what your original weight was.
We're trying to stay away from bread and pasta. I mean, we don't cut it out completely.
Whole grain pasta. I told Joe that whole grain pasta, they've now perfected it, and you can even get organic whole grain, not whole wheat, whole grain, organic whole grain pasta. You can find it. It's out there, and it tastes good. And the whole grain is better because there's more fiber in it. Okay, so
and you got to have a lot of vegetables in your
vegetables.
Diet too,
absolutely. A whole food plant-based diet. Mine is a whole food plant-based diet, no meat, no dairy, and very little oil, very little. That's the way you control. Yeah. At your age, that's one of the best ways to manage weight. Moving toward eating a plant-based diet. So you keep me informed about your knee and the stem cells that you had, and then keep me informed about your weight, and tell Joseph to behave himself. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure talking with you. Thank you very much for your listenership all these many years. We
love your show.
Well, we love you.
All the time.
Well, we love you and Joseph for your loyalty to the show, and we all here at Let's Talk Nutrition appreciate you. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Doc. Have a good day.
You do the same. All right.
Well, you moved to a plant-based diet because of heart health. It's a heart health thing, right?
No, I moved to a plant. I moved to that whole food plant. I was only meat I was eating when I got sick, Gary, was tuna, sardines, and anchovies. That's it. I even cut out the chicken. So to make the transition wasn't that hard. When I was diagnosed with cancer, I decided to make some changes. Even though I was living a healthy life, I was eating a Mediterranean diet basically. But I went to a whole food plant-based diet, no meat, no dairy, and it has made a difference. Now, how much is it going to help in the long run? I don't know, but I can see that even on a whole food plant-based diet, you have to watch it. It's harder to gain weight, but you can even gain weight on it. People think, oh, you can't gain weight eating plants. Oh, yeah? That's what you think. You can. But I find it to be a healthier diet. It's also good for heart health, is no doubt. But if you have cardiovascular disease, coronary artery disease, it should be a whole food plant-based diet, no meat, no dairy, no oil, none, zero. Read Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn's work. He's the cardiac surgeon at Cleveland Clinic and has been for couple decades or more. And that's what he advocates. And he has found over the years that when his patients move to that way of eating, they can even reverse some of the coronary heart disease damage that's done. And when they cheat and go back and revert, they get back into trouble again. I'm just telling you what the data are. I'm telling you what his clinical experience is. Caldwell Esselstyn, Cleveland Clinic. Read his work. Read Dr. Michael Greger as well. Go to nutritionfacts.org. He also is a proponent of that way of eating. Now, it's a challenging way to eat if you haven't done that before. Whole food, plant-based. Notice the words. Whole food, plant-based. No meat, no dairy. And then if you have heart disease, no oil. Now, you have to figure out what you're willing to do, what you're not willing to do. What's your commitment, to your health? How long do you want to add another 5 years or more into your life or not? It's a choice. Dominique Ostrander is my guest. A lot to chat with her. We appreciate you for listening and watching today. We'll be right back.
Energy, and more energy. Everyone needs. Almost 52% of men experience erectile dysfunction and benign prostatic hyperplasia. If you've had challenges with virility, sexual health, or low energy, Body Vigor's Alpha Extension may be the answer for you. Body Vigor's Alpha Extension can help revitalize your alpha male and extend your love. Our formula is one of the highest quality nutraceuticals available, formulated to support the processes involved in promoting a healthy male sex drive, energy, and stamina. Alpha Extension has 2 powerful herbal blends, Virilomax, which focuses on male sexual health, and T-Pump Activator, which helps balance your testosterone levels. Revitalize your alpha male with Body Vigor's Alpha Extension, exclusively available on Amazon.com.
Dominique Ostrander is my guest today. She's educated for Jarrow Formulas, and probably get to see her. She's going to Expo West next week. We'll be attending that natural products trade show. My recollection is that it's the largest natural products trade show in the world. It's, gosh, I wish you could attend. You would see so much and learn a lot. I always do. It's just remarkable. The natural products industry and all the different products, from cosmetics to you name it, food, supplement, it's all there. And I've known Dominique many years, and she's been with Jarrow a number of years now, and they're lucky to have her. And we're lucky to have her on too. I always enjoy talking with people such as she, who are in the trench every day. She's she's in the stores. She talks to retailers. She talks to consumers, and you get that connection, and you your fingers on the pulse a little bit. So it's always, those folks tend to have a pretty realistic assessment of what's going on and what to do. Dominique, welcome back to Let's Talk Nutrition. It's great to have you on.
Thank you, Dr. Garko. Always a pleasure to be here.
So, are you going to Expo West?
I will be there.
Is your father going?
My dad is going.
Good. All right.
Yeah.
Is your husband going?
My husband is going as well.
You bringing a cat and a dog?
Right. It's a family affair.
Yeah, great. Well, we'll look forward. We'll seek you out and chat a bit. Then we have a caller. I want to include you in the call. Then I want to include you in a story that I want to report on and get your take on it. But let's go to Jenkintown, Pennsylvania, not too far from Philly. Michael lives there. Michael, welcome to the show. It's great to have you on, Michael.
Good morning, Dr. Garko, and thank you for taking my phone.
It's a pleasure.
And thank you for your show. I hear about pH balance and telomere.
Okay.
How important it is for good health.
Okay. pH.
I'd like it if you can talk in one of your show about these two things.
Well, we can give you a little. Well, we have a great guest to tell you about telomeres right now, and we can talk a little bit about both. pH means in chemistry means potential for hydrogen. Without getting real complicated and sounding like a chemistry professor, it's a measure of acidity and alkalinity of water-soluble substances. And a pH value is a number anywhere from 1 to 14. It's on the scale. 7 is the neutral point, 7.1, 7, somewhere in there. Values below 7 are indicative of a more acidic internal environment or substance that you may have. 1 is the most acidic, of course. 7 indicates alkalinity, which increases as the number goes up. 14 is the highest alkaline number you can have. There are a lot of misconceptions that center around this whole issue of pH balance. And what's so ironic is that ultimately, most people try to move out of balance, and they want their body to be more alkaline and push it greater toward 14. That's not necessarily a good idea. Biologically, you need to have an acidic environment in your body. I mean, if you're going to be totally alkaline, it just doesn't make any sense, because there's a lot of chemical reactions and things that go on biochemically, metabolically, that require having an acidic condition. And so this whole idea of drinking alkaline water, making your body more alkaline, because it's supposed to fight off cancer and this and that, a lot of that stuff is hocus pocus. Ideally, biologically, the body wants to be somewhere around 7, 7.2, somewhere in the middle, what they call homeostatic or homeostasis. And that's just generally speaking. In terms of telomeres, my guest today, Dominique Ostrander, has come on to the show many times and talked about telomeres. They are an important concept in the whole conversation and narrative on aging. You want to share a few things with Michael about telomeres, Dominique?
Sure. And to your point about acidifying an environment, like, for example, a good probiotic will actually help to acidify an environment without over-acidifying, because when you acidify an environment, you make it less favorable for pathogens.
Mm-hmm.
So it's important, for example, in urovaginal health and digestive health, to acidify an environment to a point that makes it less favorable for pathogens.
Right. I mean, people.
And the same thing with oral health, like oral probiotics do exactly that. And it's finding that balance that will acidify the environment in the mouth, not so much as to destroy dentin on the teeth, but to make it less favorable for pathogenic organisms to grow and proliferate.
Right. I don't know. There's this stuff, let me call it that, in quotes, out there on the internet about, well, if you make your body more alkaline, that's better to fight cancer, and it's more preventative, and it kills the cancer because cancer cells like to live in an acidic environment, can't survive in an alkaline. There's so much, and a lot of that, there's no science to support it. I'm just saying, how things get, all these urban legends and myths and nonsense. You have to use your hypercritical thinking skills and look for the data. Now, the telomeres, you've mentioned them a number of times on the show.
Right, exactly, because it falls into that category. So we've always talked about, since the beginning of our radio relationship, that telomeres are like the caps at the ends of shoelaces, that as soon as that cap falls off, the end of the shoelace frays, and it continues to fray higher and higher and higher, which is the same thing that happens basically, or sort of analogously, with our DNA strands. And so with exposure to oxidative damage, whether it's via stress, diet, lack of sleep, you name it, it all affects our DNA strands. And so the longer and more
to your point about the telomeres, they are, Michael, Dominique is absolutely right. In fact, there's a theory of aging. It's called the telomere theory of aging. And the theory, and I'm just giving you a very quick abstract of it. It says that every time cells divide, the telomeres shorten. And when they keep shortening, and eventually they expose the DNA in your chromosomes, and then that's how the DNA gets degraded, and you get into all kinds of trouble, and disease forms, and so on. And aging accelerates, and disease becomes more of a potential. Now, Dominique has come on to the show and talked about the whole notion of increasing the size of telomeres. When we come back, we'll continue that conversation. You're listening to LTN Coast to Coast.
Whether you spend your free time on a treadmill, under a car, or in your garden, if your active lifestyle leaves you sore, Body Vigor's Inflammaforce may be exactly what you need. Inflammaforce has a natural herb blend that acts as an anti-inflammatory to help maintain healthy joint and mobility support. There are standardized herbs like white willow, boswellia, turmeric, ginger, and devil's claw. The vegetarian capsule promotes easy digestion and a fast-acting dissolve process. Inflammaforce includes a proprietary enzyme herbal blend full of antioxidants and flavonoids that target pain and inflammation throughout the body. Body Vigor's Inflammaforce contains ingredients that support normal, healthy joint flexibility and function, builds healthy tissue, and helps with your recovery process. So if you're tired of sore joints and inflamed muscles, Body Vigor's Inflammaforce is your answer. Purchase Inflammaforce exclusively on Amazon.com.
Welcome back. Welcome to Let's Talk Nutrition. Thanks for tuning in today, stopping by. We appreciate it. We're coast to coast, including Hawaii, and we're also global because we stream out every day onto 3. Gary's going to tell you about that.
You can reach us at 877-897-8255. That's 877-897-8255. If you have the Alexa device, this is I'm just amazed by this thing, the Alexia. You know what I'm talking about? Alexis from Amazon. If you go Alexa play Let's Talk Nutrition, we come up now.
It's great.
We've made it to that platform, which is just unbelievable.
That's good.
So not only that,
we stream live on Facebook.
We stream live on Facebook, YouTube, and our own page, and it's letstalknutrition.com.
Okay.
And everything's archived. We're archiving everything so people can go back throughout the week and watch the shows. And not only that, we're also, if you go to our YouTube...
Or listen.
Yeah, or listen. But if you go to YouTube, we actually have a playlist set up on our sponsors and the products.
So if somebody went there and typed Let's Talk Nutrition Jarrow...
the playlist would come up of every time Jarrow Formulas has been on the show. And I've got it now for about the past 6 months.
And Jarrow Formulas has been on quite a bit.
Yes.
I mean, they're a regular sponsor. So we have that. You have it organized there that they can, by category, playlist.
Yeah, and it helps out a lot. And as of last Saturday, we were talking to somebody that didn't know how to do it. Mm-hmm. And I was able to walk through the Let's Talk Nutrition app on my phone and show them how to watch live on the phone now. Mm-hmm. You can watch live on the Let's Talk Nutrition app on your phone. And you can go right to our webpage on the Let's Talk Nutrition app.
And by the way, we're a little off point here, but I just want to make a comment about our terrestrial radio element or feature. We are a terrestrial radio show. We're in 60-plus markets. And I beseech you to support your local radio station that airs this show. Please do that. And even though this other kind of technology exists, and we've been watching this very closely, what we have learned is that even though people will go to their handheld device when they move away from the radio, or they'll go to their computer or their little whatever, tablet, whatever they're using, they still gravitate back to the radio. It still keeps them, they want to stay dialed into the show. If they have to leave the radio and they still want to continue to listen to the show, we're learning that that's how they do it. It doesn't divorce them, though, from the radio. They want to go, they always go back to the radio. That seems to be the medium of choice. So what we were worried about was this kind of technology undermining the terrestrial radio, and we didn't want to do that. And we're finding that it doesn't. In fact, it enhances it because it keeps the listener and the viewer more dialed in, no pun intended, to the show, both in terms of terrestrial radio and digital. So they complement one another. In fact, some of the radio stations now stream. That you go onto their website, they have podcasts and whatnot, right, Gary?
Yes.
So that terrestrial radio is part of the 21st century, and it didn't go anywhere, and it's not going anywhere, and we're not going to go anywhere with it either. We're staying right with it. That's what got us to the dance, and we're going to continue to slow dance it and jitterbug with it all the way.
And it's one of the things I thought that's interesting that we were talking about earlier is you've appeared on other people's podcast because of this show, but not only that, because of dealing with the cancer and everything else.
Right. Recently I did a nice podcast, right?
Yeah, and I've posted that to our social media. Because maybe somebody wants to hear about your personal experiences doing that also.
Can you tell them about that? Let's do that at the top of the hour.
Okay.
Let's go back to Dominique. Dominique, the telomeres, at Jarrow Formulas, you even have a supplement that helps with telomeres, don't you?
Well, not literally, not that says telomeres, but any vitamin or antioxidant is going to support telomeres and help them not get damaged. So but there are specific supplements like PQQ, for example,
Right.
that fall under that anti-aging umbrella more so than others, just because of their stability throughout the electron transport chain, which means that the more exposed cells are to oxidative damage, that the more stable that they are, that the more stable the mitochondria are.
Michael,
no matter how many redox cycles.
Michael had a question. He wanted to know what foods a person might eat for telomere health. And the answer to that is there's probably two answers to that. There are foods that you shouldn't eat, and then, which are all the processed foods because they cause so much oxidative damage that you're alluding to, Dominique. But a plant-based diet high in antioxidants would be one way to help preserve if you're thinking about telomere theory of aging, that would be one way to preserve it, wouldn't it be, Dominique?
Oh, definitely, yeah, exactly. So, it's a diet that's high in berries and whole grains and lots of cruciferous vegetables, and so it's definitely a plant-based diet.
So that's it. You're trying to, Michael, what you're trying to do is minimize oxidative damage. You're trying to caused by free radicals. Free radicals are are atoms that have lost, molecules that have lost an electron. Atoms that have lost an electron, and they're running around stealing electrons because they like to be in pairs. They like the electrons to be paired up. And when it loses an electron, it's going to go and search for it, rob it from another molecule. It'll start stealing electrons, and that causes oxidative damage. So you have to have antioxidants, which give up their electrons and makes everybody happy. And when they give up their electrons, they don't go around stealing other people's electrons, so to speak. So that's why antioxidants are so important. I hope we answered your questions, Michael.
Yes, you do. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. Dominique, when we come back, was there something at the top of your mind that you wanted to yell at me or something or anything like that?
No, I had sent you an article that it was on obesity and a multi-dimensional approach.
Good. All right, we'll take a look at it then. I saw that, and we'll address it. And when we come back, I also will get Dominique's take on a new study that's distressing to some. As a researcher, I'm not so distressed by it. And the title of the article was, "Can We Trust Results from Early Clinical Trials?" Wow. Let's see. We'll find out what the answer to that is. And as you know, this is an evidence-based show. We rely on the science, and we talk about evidence-based nutrition, for sure. Okay? If we're going to talk about carrots, I can give you all the data on carrots. We'll be back. Welcome to Let's Talk Nutrition. Thanks for tuning in this Friday edition of LTN. We're driving into the end of February, as they say, or how you say it, February, I don't know. Where did the month go? And the weather's probably breaking in many places and moving. We'll get closer to spring now, and it's all good, right? Spring into health. How about that? And glad you could tune in. We are coast to coast, including Hawaii, and we also are global, and we like that. Big platform, and
we're in Atlanta now. We're in Minneapolis. We're in Seattle. We're in Hawaii.
We just added an affiliate in Atlanta, and we're very proud of that. Atlanta's a nice market, and we've had listeners in Atlanta for a number of years. They weren't listening on the radio. They were catching the show on their computer. Yeah, and they would call in from Atlanta. We had callers. Stephen, I know he remembers. Do you remember that fellow's name? Gosh, I'm blanking on it. He would call from time to time. I haven't heard from him in a while. You know, I wonder what happens to folks. You don't hear from them. And we're delighted when you call. There's a number to call, a couple of numbers to call within the continental United States and outside the U.S. And then there are different ways to connect to the show. And Gary's going to tell you how. And then Dominique Ostrander is my guest. And she has a story about a study dealing with obesity and weight loss she wanted to share with you. And then I want to share with you a study on clinical trials and can we trust the results from early clinical trials? Here's how to connect.
Call us toll free at 877-897-8255. That's 877-897-8255. Or anywhere to sound my voice at 813-636-8255. Don't forget you can send us a message on Let's Talk Nutrition on Facebook and on Instagram. And Dr. Garko's personal email is drgarko@letstalknutrition.com.
And people do send me emails, and I answer my emails. Sometimes things get dumped into, and I don't know why, junk mail. And then I find out that somebody sent me something and didn't realize it was in junk mail. I don't know why that happens, but it drives me absolutely crazy. Dominique, welcome back to the show. Glad to have you back on the show as always. I wanted to talk with you and the audience, listener and the viewer, about this study that's trending today. And it's an interesting study, and it's interesting how they set it up, too, in reporting on it. And I'm going to give attribution to Tim Newman. The story is published in Medical News Today, by the way. And they were talking about as the average human lifespan slowly expands or increases, and I was talking about that all week, the number of people with chronic diseases or conditions is also growing. In our ability now to keep people living longer, we're keeping them alive longer, but in chronic states of health. And things such as heart and kidney disease, people suffering from stroke, cancer, diabetes, the list is long. And medical science is able to keep them alive and treat them in pretty good quality of life. And then, of course, things will deteriorate eventually. So they mention in the article that doctors and patients alike eagerly await news of innovative new ways to treat the diseases. And then the writer says, at the same time, medical research is at an all-time high. That is true. Globally, the number of registered clinical trials increased sevenfold from 2004 to 2013. That's a good thing. We need good data. This boost in research is a good thing for people hoping for new treatments that will address these chronic diseases. Now, this study, it was even discouraging to the writer of the article. He said, so when I read through the report that we are discussing today, I must admit that my heart sank a little, he said. In brief, the researchers conclude that results from early clinical trials should be approached with caution, close quote. Ooh. This was carried out by Mayo Clinic's Evidence-Based Practice Center. Mayo Clinic is pretty good, you know. And the analysis investigated what they call the Proteus effect. Let me stop there for a second. Dominique, you know that this is evidence-based around here, evidence-based nutrition, evidence-based medicine, and we do report on the clinical trials. This particular study found that some of these clinical trials, at least in the beginning, tend to be what more optimistic than they really should be. I don't know how. I'm trying to put it in a polite way. I don't know if you looked at that study or had a chance to, but
I have not.
When a new treatment is first trialed, the early results are often much more pronounced than those found in later trials. That turns out to be true, they said. In other words, the drug or procedure being tested appears to work better at first, and then when it is re-examined at a later date, the effect size diminishes. This is called the Proteus effect, close quote.
Isn't that true for so many things?
I was thinking about my relationships.
Exactly. No, I was literally thinking the very same. No, I think that is so true for so many things.
You know,
the more things that present themselves, whether it's diseases that twist and turn, that have unpredictable outcomes, then that original study might not apply or apply as deeply.
This is intriguing to me.
Mm-hmm.
When they do the clinical trial, the initial clinical trial or trials, as a researcher, when I was doing my PhD work on taking all these statistics and research methods courses, effect size, we talked about effect size, EFFECT, effect size, all day long. What's the effect size? What's the sample size? What's our error? How much error do we want to build into the statistical model? All of these things were a part of our consideration in designing the study. And sometimes you'll get an effect size that's very small, but statistically significant, meaning that it occurred greater than chance would allow it to occur. And other times the effect size would be very large. What they're saying is that when they're testing new drugs and new therapies, usually initially the effect size, it turns out to be larger or bigger than it does appear in later trials. That's an interesting phenomenon. You would think it would be the same. You might ask the question, well, why would that be? Why would the effect size start to diminish or get smaller in later clinical trials? Why does that happen? In their investigation, the researchers in this study looked at hundreds of studies. They looked at the top 10 medical journals, and they did a ranking system for journals, and they picked the best. They focused on 70 meta-analyses published between 2007 and 2015. The findings are published in Mayo Clinic Proceedings. What they found was this, that the effect of the first or second clinical trial looking at some device or treatment was almost 3 times larger than the effect size seen in later studies or later trials. Dr. Al-Dahab said this phenomenon of exaggerated early results was present in a whopping 37% of the studies we reviewed, close quote. Wow. As a researcher, that makes me it's like whiplash. Why does the effect size diminish? We'll be back.
Almost 52% of men experience erectile dysfunction and benign prostatic hyperplasia. If you've had challenges with virility, sexual health, or low energy, Body Vigor's Alpha Extension may be the answer for you. Body Vigor's Alpha Extension can help revitalize your alpha male and extend your love. Our formula is one of the highest quality nutraceuticals available, formulated to support the processes involved in promoting a healthy male sex drive, energy, and stamina. Alpha Extension has 2 powerful herbal blends, Virilomax, which focuses on male sexual health, and T-Pump Activator, which helps balance your testosterone levels. Revitalize your alpha male with Body Vigor's Alpha Extension. Exclusively available on Amazon.com.
Many think that science is equals perfection and expect it to be absolutely perfect, make no mistakes, and that everything is always true. Welcome back to Let's Talk Nutrition. Even as a graduate student, I knew better than that. And one of the things I learned as I moved through my training was that in spite of all the care and the caution that you take when you're designing studies, and I've done my share, you still make mistakes. And you still are biased. And even though you try to control for your biases or bias at any given time, sometimes your biases are operating out of your awareness, as they often do. And things turn out the way you want them to turn out because you were biased to begin with. And you worry about it. My guest is Dominique Ostrander, talking with her about this new study out of the Mayo Clinic proceedings, and I found the editorial from MayoClinicProceedings.org entitled "Needs More Research: Implications of the Proteus Effect for Researchers and Evidence Adopters." One of the things they point out in this article, Dominique, is that as you said, this Proteus effect, where the effect of something is greater at the beginning but diminishes over time, its effect or effectiveness. They say it applies to so many different things in life and in research. You were right on the money about that.
That's great.
yeah, I mean, you were right on. I mean, that's exactly one of the one of the points that the editor was making in this in the editorial about the study. I guess I bring it up for the audience, and it may sound like a degree of tedium here that's not warranted, but I just want to make this point. Even though this is an evidence-based show, even though I believe in the science, and we need to show me the data, and look at the data, and use our critical thinking skills, scientists are humans, and they make mistakes, and they have biases, and the world is not perfect. And when you draw a sample for one clinical trial, the sample may be a little bit different in the next trial, and you may alter a procedure slightly. Effect size can be affected by many different variables. So even though the editor and the researchers in this study got a little despondent about the findings, I'm not surprised that effect size would be variable, in fact would diminish over time, because you get better at understanding the phenomenon and you're getting a truer picture of the phenomenon, and you may adjust procedurally for the study and do different things using different statistical models and so on. So I'm not so shocked about it, and I'm not despondent about it either. It's not as if the data were totally wiped out. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Yeah. This is a nuanced thing, and some hosts wouldn't even bother the audience with this. But I'm sharing this with the audience because I want you to know that we're vigilant, and I'm constantly trying to understand, can we trust the data? Why am I that vigilant? Because we're talking about it on the show, and if the recommendation is made in a study about doing X, Y, or Z, and you go and do it, we want to make sure that it's the right thing to do, and that there are not going to be any consequences. That's why we don't diagnose and treat around here, by the way. So I'm just saying. That again, that's for many doctors and scientists listen to this show, those interested in science and research. So this is but I think even the layperson would want to know about these kinds of things as well. You had something you wanted to share with the listener and the viewer today.
I did, and I thought, because we're coming into the end of February, just to, again, going back to New Year's resolutions, when everybody wants to lose weight, and just sort of a checking in, going, how is everybody doing? And I know you had a caller.
New Year's what? New Year's what? New Year's what? Resolutions? What are that?
Right, exactly. And, she's talking about her weight loss and how she had lost 25 pounds, and her husband had lost a little bit more weight.
50. He lost close to 50.
Yeah, that double the weight. That's amazing. And so it's just... So I was checking in because based on this article, and the reason why I brought this up was because it was a multifactorial approach. So it wasn't just, let's stop eating and lose some weight, or go out and exercise and don't change the way you eat. It was literally a multidimensional approach, and it was actually putting the pressure on primary care physicians, and you and I have talked about this on the air before, that do doctors have the obligation, and is obesity considered a diagnosis, and on and on. And so this particular article was saying that primary care physicians should refer adults with a body mass index of 30 kilograms or higher to intensive multi-component behavioral programs for weight management. And this is according to a new draft recommendation from the U.S. Preventative Services Task Force, and it was published on February 20th. So, and it's kind of what we've talked about all the time on the air, about a multifaceted approach to your health, not just being one way, but sort of embracing a lot of different things. So embracing more physical activity, better food choices, less stress, better sleep. One of the things that this study is talking about is a support group, actually.
For weight loss?
For weight loss, exactly. That people that had much, what they considered, and again, this is sort of based to your point about the study from Mayo Clinic, is that it was statistically relevant. Though it seemed like a small percentage that was affected, it was statistically relevant in terms of, because 1 in 13 Americans is obese.
Okay, when we come back, we'll find out why it was statistically relevant and significant.
Almost 52% of men experience erectile dysfunction and benign prostatic hyperplasia. If you've had challenges with virility, sexual health, or low energy, Body Vigor's Alpha Extension may be the answer for you. Body Vigor's Alpha Extension can help revitalize your alpha male and extend your love. Our formula is one of the highest quality nutraceuticals available, formulated to support the processes involved in promoting a healthy male sex drive, energy, and stamina. Alpha Extension has 2 powerful herbal blends: Virilomax, which focuses on male sexual health, and T-Pump Activator, which helps balance your testosterone levels. Revitalize your alpha male with Body Vigor's Alpha Extension. Exclusively available on Amazon.com.
there are a couple of principles that are always operating. One, things typically are not what they seem. Two, when things are bad, they usually get worse. And and three, it usually takes more than one thing to make something happen, either bad or good. And then if it's a bad thing, to correct it, it takes more than one thing. Those three principles are always operating with me. Welcome back to Let's Talk Nutrition. So, Dominique, welcome back. In this article, they were talking about taking a multi-dimension approach to managing weight, losing weight and keeping it off. Were they specific about what to do?
Well, they were specific in terms of just lowering blood sugar, physical activity. They weren't as specific, they didn't list any specific diet, follow a certain diet. They didn't talk about that. But what they did talk about was that because of the amount of people that are suffering with obesity, that just a 5% reduction in weight has a significant statistical effect as far as the amount of disease then that would be lessened. So, for example, people with obesity suffer from heart disease, ischemic heart disease, type 2 diabetes, respiratory diseases, and cancer of the liver, kidney, breast, endometrial, prostate, and colon. So that if you have a 5% reduction in weight, you will then affect the amount of these diseases then and the cost. And I think that it's important. I know we don't really think of it in terms of losing weight and how I'm going to affect the rest of the world. I mean, obviously it's something that's so personal. But if you can think about your lowering your risk, that just by losing 5% of your body weight, how you dramatically lower your risk for those types of diseases, heart disease, cancer, respiratory diseases, diabetes, etc.
Well, what's interesting about that to me, a couple of things. First, people think they need to lose a lot of weight or all of the excess weight to have success. This study would suggest that that's not necessarily true, that you don't have to lose all of the excess weight, that even losing some of it, as much as 5%, can start to yield a positive health effect. Did I interpret that correctly?
Perfectly.
Okay. That's an interesting, because usually people approach this in a, how can I put this, dyadic way. It's either on or off.
All or nothing.
All or nothing. And it's not that way. The journey to weight loss is a journey that, and to keeping weight off, is a journey that lasts forever. It never ends. And people need to, I don't know if people are told that when they start these programs, but I have a guest that comes on here. I don't know if you know who he is, Dr. Michael Lyon. Do you know Dr. Lyon by any chance?
I don't think so.
Okay. Dr. Lyon is pretty good. I'll tell you about him when I see you. And he runs a clinic in Canada sponsored by the government, supported by, they see 300 patients a day, obese, that are referred to the clinic. And so they know a thing or two about weight loss. And he tells them in that clinic, they're told, this is something you need to do for the rest of your life. There's no reaching some point and you're done. You're never going to be done in managing your weight. So that's point number one. Number two, they found that even small amounts of weight loss yield health benefits to the point that you're making. Yes?
Right, exactly. And I think that that's, having dealt with an obese population for so long, I know that it's overwhelming. And then just to think that, well, what's losing 5% of my 400-pound body going to do? Like, what is that? Like, that's nothing. Well, actually, it is something. And you and I, over the years, on a more psycho-spiritual level, have talked about little wins. And that is a little win that is potentially a big win.
Absolutely. Small wins are meaningful. If you have a person who weighs 275 pounds, quick math, lose, what's 5% of 275?
Oh, you gave me a tough number now, right? So for 300 pounds, we're at 15 pounds. Right?
Okay, 15 pounds. Doesn't seem like a lot of weight. You could probably lose that. Usually it doesn't take long to lose that initially, but that can make a significant difference in a person's journey. And that small win means something. Did they mention blood? Right. Did you say they mentioned blood glucose in that article?
They did. They mentioned they mentioned type 2 diabetes. So they didn't, and they did mention better blood sugar control. Okay,
so watch this. Gary, put your mic on.
Yes.
Put your pants on. Put your hat on. Listen to me. What did I say to you 2 days ago?
Stabilizing the blood glucose would help me lose weight.
He was sitting here with me, and he was a little dejected because he reached a sticking point. And I said to him, he was talking about he went on a trip. He ate the same thing as his buddy ate. His buddy lost some weight, and he didn't lose anything. And I said to him, it's your blood glucose, and your insulin and blood glucose levels need to be better managed. Didn't I tell you that?
Yes.
Am I lying?
No.
So now maybe he'll believe me. I'm sort of like a parent, right? You never believe your parents. You disregard. And that's what I was saying to him. You have a fabulous product at Jar of Formulas that would help.
We do. As far as blood sugar control, our glucose optimizer is truly outstanding.
You ought to give Gary. You ought to give that. Why did I lose? There you are. You ought to give that some thought. In addition to the other product that I mentioned, that Jar doesn't make, the glucose optimizer would help a lot. He's insulin resistant. Okay. I don't mean to talk about you while you're sitting there. I hate that with
better
people.
Behind his back.
It's better if I talk behind your back. Yes. Oh my God.
He gets me because I'm in the middle of doing some social media posts.
He can't say
so
anything.
I can't talk.
He can't talk to me, so I can unreel it. And I was trying to tell him that in his case, he's suffering from insulin resistance. That the insulin is not transporting the glucose to the cells and opening up the cells so the glucose can be burned.
Which is type 2.
He has type 2 diabetes. And he's been successful. We set a goal for 50 pounds this year. We almost lost 50 last year. So he's got another 50 to go this year. He's reached a sticking point. Now, I haven't monitored him, and I don't know what he's doing outside when he leaves school. I don't know what he's doing at home. So I don't know if he's sticking with this diet or what. But there's something awry here, and I'm likely to think that it's his blood glucose and insulin levels.
As a family-owned company since... Are your joints feeling out of date and stiff? Is that old sports injury flaring up? Is your body aching from the daily wear and tear at work? Body Vigor's Joint Ready keeps you at the ready for any joint pain that gets out of line. Unfortunately, as we age, joint pain becomes more common. Body Vigor's Joint Ready can help provide relief so you can continue to go about your day. Our formula contains sulfated forms of glucosamine and chondroitin. Studies show that these sulfated forms are more effective than regular glucosamine bound to hydrochloride. Joint Ready promotes a healthy inflammatory response, facilitates cartilage synthesis, and provides additional antioxidants. Keep your joints at the ready with Body Vigor's Joint Ready, exclusively on Amazon.com.
Here's the LTN health question of the day. This is easy. In this study that Dominique Ostrander was talking about, did they recommend that in approaching, weight loss, obesity, or being overweight or obese, is it better to use just to do one thing, or is it better to take a multidimensional approach? Which is the better approach? Just to do one thing, or to adopt a multidimensional approach? Like the one thing would be cut your calories. A multidimensional approach would be better sleep and rest, exercise, cut calories. Which of those two approaches is, in the long run, ends up being better to lose weight and manage it, and that is keep it off? Just to do one thing, or to take a multidimensional approach? Here's the number to call to win a $25 supplement gift card from VDC.
877-897-8255. That's 877-897-8255. Or anywhere at the sound of my voice at 813-636-8255.
The glucose optimizer, that product, you don't have to be overweight or obese to use that product, do you?
Oh, no, definitely not.
I've had clients use the product and who had terrible glucose and insulin readings in their labs, or lab reports, and got on that product and brought them back into the line, and then they had their blood tested again, and the doctor was amazed. Didn't tell the doctor they were doing it, and the doctor wanted to know how they did it. And the one client said, you have to call Dr. Garko, he'll tell you.
Exactly.
Which he did. He did. And I said,
wow.
And I said, I didn't prescribe anything. I was talking to her about a product from Jarrow Formulas called Glucose Optimizer. And he said, what is that? And I told him. So I don't know if you included it.
It's an amazing blend. It really is, because it's got everything you need. It's we suggest it's a 4 tablets for the serving, although for a lot of people 4 tablets are not necessary, that they're fine with 1 to 2 even.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and what it does is it helps your body use the glucose. In other words, burn it so it doesn't get stored as fat and you start losing weight. I mean, it's going to help with that.
Right, yeah, it enhances carbohydrate metabolism.
Absolutely. When you're insulin resistant, it bedevils you to lose weight. You can't lose weight if you're insulin resistant. It's very it's nearly impossible. It's almost impossible.
Yes, and I would like to talk to Gary about his activity level, because it sounds like that might be if his diet really is in check.
I don't know. I haven't checked on him lately. I don't know what he's doing at home.
Yeah.
I haven't asked him.
If his diet's really in check, then activity and changing whatever workout routine he has going. And I always suggest, if he's at the point where he feels fit enough to be able to do,
he exercises. He's up at 4
a.m. every day in the gym.
He's up at 4 a.m. He's at the gym. He works out for an hour and then comes to the station.
And then I go home and I usually do some type of physical activity.
No, he doesn't. He's not
2 hours a day.
He doesn't beach himself someplace.
No.
No, he's moving around. I know Lorraine's on the move. She's down in Sarasota. It's beautiful down there. So, Lorraine, welcome to Let's Talk Nutrition.
Hi, Doctor.
How are you?
The answer is multi-approach.
A multi-step approach is right. You want to control...
I'd like to add a postscript to yesterday's program, the chiropractor.
Of course.
I'd like you to know about my success. I was more than 2 years old. I was not walking, and I had chiropractor treatment, and I started walking right away.
No kidding.
And they've kept me moving. I'm 79, no prescriptions, live alone. I've had some fractures and things like that. But I just wanted to put in a little plug for the chiropractor.
Do you still? I know. They've come. The profession has come a long way. Medical doctors, traditional physicians now, will refer patients to a good chiropractor.
What kind of life would my mom had if I couldn't have walked? If they'd have been because it was my uncle that was a chiropractor, asked because he could see me hanging my head to the side. And what if they'd have been so close-minded? They'd have said, "No, you're not touching her."
Huh.
if I could have never walked, wouldn't that have been something?
That's amazing. Well, I'm glad that you're doing well, and you sound in good health. Are you doing okay for yourself down there?
Well, yeah, I still have a lot of back pain, but I go to the chiropractor all the time.
Okay.
Keep me going. So I deal with a lot of back pain, so I'm doing probably 10 pills a day of curcumin, ginger,
Does it help?
For joints.
Does it help?
Things like that.
Does it help?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I do, but no prescriptions at all.
Have you tried CBD, cannabidiol?
I did. I was using it for sleep, and it didn't help. I'm going to try a couple of different.
If you try the CBD oil, use CV Sciences Gold.
Yeah.
CV Sciences Gold.
I haven't tried the gold. It was a different one, and my store doesn't have the gold, but I'll get it from.
Get the gold and use
with my card.
Get the gold and use the capsules, the gel caps.
Yeah, the gold is particularly for joint pain, isn't it?
Not necessarily. No. No. You want to use the gold and get it in the gel cap so you don't have to be measuring stuff and whatnot. That's an easier way. Try that and let me.
You're recommending it for the sleep more than the joints.
I'm just generally see if it'll help moderate the discomfort and the pain.
Okay.
See, and let us know. Let us
about my card.
And let us know how it works out. Okay.
Okay.
Let's go to Yvette in Lansdale. Go ahead, Yvette, real quick. Hi, Yvette.
Hi, good morning.
Go ahead.
Yes, I was just calling in reference to the statement that you made about a gentleman who was eating the same diet as his friend. However, the friend lost weight and he didn't, and you contributed to glucose, and I was looking for a more in-depth explanation about the glucose issue that you believe.
We're almost out. We're almost out of time. I only have a few seconds left. If you tune in back on Monday, I'll open the show and I'll talk about glucose and insulin and why that's so important to weight loss, okay? I promise I'll do that. I'll do that on Monday. The product that we mentioned is from Jarrow Formulas. It's called Glucose Optimizer. We'll come back on Monday, and I promise I'll open the show with that and give you an explanation on glucose and insulin and why it's so critical to weight loss. Dominique, thank you so much for being on. I don't mean to rush like this. We're just out of time. If I had another hour, I'd keep you here.
Thank you, Dr. Garko. I think I'm on next week, next
good.
Friday.
All right, good. We'll look for you. In the meantime, if you get a moment, ring me up sometime. Your health is your wealth.
Have you discovered that your post-activity